It's Monday, the 5th of April 2021. Welcome to the Fear and Greed Business Headlines, the business news you need in just 5 minutes. I'm Sean Aylmer. In today's headlines, the Defence Minister tries to calm fears about Australia's relationship with China. Plus, a massive data breach at Facebook. AstraZeneca jabs will continue despite a man falling ill with blood clots after receiving the vaccine. And why $11 million is shredded, literally ripped up, every day. Our lead story today, new Defence Minister Peter Dutton, not normally known for his diplomacy, said Australia will work collaboratively with China to ensure peace in the region. His comments came after growing noise about Beijing potentially launching military action against Taiwan. Donald Trump's Secretary of State, Mike Pompeo, whose outbursts could make Mr. Trump look tame, has warned that Beijing could launch military action within years. Mr. Dutton, who became Defence Minister just last week, said Australia was committed to working across the region to achieve stability and peace. Speaking to Sky News, he said Australia did not want to see conflict and wanted to work with its partners. Mr. Dutton said Australia didn't support militarisation of ports and foreign countries exerting influence via cyber and other means. He added that our most important ally was the United States. In his first major interview as Defence Minister, Mr. Dutton also said he was determined to not let costs blow out in big projects. The defence budget is massive, $90 billion for defence-class submarines, for example. There's another $45 billion for Hunter-class frigates. Mr. Dutton has already captured the attention of the Chinese Communist Party. An editorial in the Global Times, a mouthpiece of Beijing, said Mr. Dutton's appointment signalled that Australia would cooperate with the US to stir up and meddle in South China Sea issues. In overseas news, the personal data of more than 500 million Facebook users appeared online for free over the weekend. According to Business Insider, the information includes phone numbers, Facebook IDs, full names, locations, birth dates, and in some cases, email addresses. This is a massive breach, and Facebook said the data was from 2019. Still, how many of the 500 million users would have changed that information since then? Electric vehicle maker Tesla said it's produced more than 180,000 vehicles during the first quarter of the year, with its Model Y being very well received in China. It was higher than expected and should help the group's share price, which is now 1/3 lower than where it was in January. The US unemployment rate fell to 6% last month after more than 900,000 jobs were created. That helped push share markets to a new record, with the S&P 500 closing above 4,000 points for the first time. The Dow Jones Industrial Average also closed at a record, while the Nasdaq jumped almost 2% over the weekend. And the last ship stranded in the Suez Canal as a result of the giant container ship Ever Given being stranded have now passed through the waterway. Locally, health officials will continue to administer AstraZeneca coronavirus vaccinations after a Melbourne man who received the jab fell ill with a rare blood clotting condition. Acting Chief Medical Officer Michael Kidd said the illness was likely related to the vaccine, but there was no definitive evidence of any link and the jab will continue to be administered. A number of unusual blood clotting cases have been reported in the UK, but over the weekend, British regulators said the incident rate was just 1 in 600,000 cases. Meanwhile, the outbreak of community-transmitted COVID-19 cases in Queensland appears to be under control for now. There was a case on Saturday and one on Sunday in the state. New South Wales appears to have avoided the outbreak. And the states and feds are at each other over the vaccine rollout. So far, well less than 1 million people have received the vaccine. It's running at about 70,000 a day, which the states and federal opposition say isn't fast enough. The Aussie dollar has rebounded from its 3-month low late last week. It's now worth 76.1 US cents, helped by the lifting of the snap lockdown in Queensland and the lack of new cases of COVID over the weekend. Bitcoin has also had a bit of a run in the past week. It's now worth around 57,000 US dollars a unit and is 10% higher than about a week ago. There are calls by market economists, including Dr. Shane Oliver from AMP Capital, for the Reserve Bank to tap the brakes on lending for housing. With house prices surging, record housing finance levels, and an increased share of mortgages at high loan-to-valuation ratios, the economists argue it might be time to increase interest rate buffers used by banks to assess how much people can borrow. Legendary Australian fashion designer Carla Zampatti will be given a state funeral after dying in hospital from complications after falling at the opera last week. Ms. Zampatti was a pioneer in every sense of the word. And finally, There was an interesting story in The Australian over the weekend. Did you know the Reserve Bank shreds about $11 million worth of banknotes each day? The bank is responsible for new notes, and for several years it's been releasing more secure currency. It then takes the old notes out of circulation. Funny thing is that the bank was supposed to shred much more than $11 million a day, but during the pandemic, people hoarded cash. That's the Fear and Greed business headlines for today. Make sure you subscribe or follow so you get it every morning. If you'd like more detail and more stories, search for our full Fear and Greed podcast. Today it includes an interview with Chris Breike, founder and CEO of online investment advisor StockSpot, a great introduction to investing in the share market. I'm Sean Aylmer. Have a great day.